MMAOddsBreaker. Today we're talking to Mike Ricci. Get ready to fight George Sotiropoulos. Come up here with Titan Fighting Championships 29. Of course, Titan wants to bill it as the battle of the former UFC guys. I don't really particularly care about promotions. Fighters are fighters. Doesn't make a difference who you fought. And some no-name promotion, a week later you're the champ of the world. It's all about your next fight. Your last fight, you win. His last four, he's lost. Does that make him dangerous or less dangerous than if you'd fought him like 4 fights ago?
A lot of people are saying that to me. They're like, oh, he's lost four in a row. But I mean, you look before that, and he was doing real well in the UFC. Like he hit a rough patch. But a fighter of his caliber, with his experience, I'm expecting him to, be ready to bounce back and be looking to bounce back. So I can't expect an easy fight because he's lost four. I expect an even harder fight because he's lost four. I mean, if he's going to continue to fight, after four losses, he's looking to prove something. He's looking to make a comeback, So if he really was in a really rough patch that was like no coming back from, he would have retired, So I expect to see a really tough Sotiropoulos.
Well, a lot of guys don't know when to retire. We've seen it with several fighters that they keep fighting even though they should have gotten out of the way. Is George? And you're a smart kid. You're a guy that pays attention to the sport, and you understand the sport as a whole. Are we looking at a guy that's been in the game a little bit too long and needs to back away, or is he a guy that still has a lot of talent, a lot of skill, and is very, very dangerous? And you don't have to give me the typical fighter's line. He's dangerous because he's my next opponent. We get he's dangerous because he's stepping inside that cage. Everyone's dangerous when they get inside that cage and wants to fight. But is he past his due date, or is this a guy that just hit a rough patch like you said?
Here, I'll give you the other spectrum of what I just said. I said, I got to prepare because this guy could potentially, be getting out of his rough patch. He could, potentially be looking to, reestablish himself. But then we'll look at the other end of it, right? What if Sotiropoulos is past his due date? What if he's too old? What if he's trying to make something happen that just isn't going to happen? If that's the case, this is really the wrong fight for him because I'm really reaching my prime as a fighter, as an athlete, as a man. And, I proved a lot my last fight coming off of the whirlwind of the UFC and everything that happened, getting, a little setback. I showed that I came back. I took a main event fight against a tough guy. I showed I wasn't playing any games. I went in there, I showed up in shape, and I executed. And I'm going to do the same thing again this time. Well, so if that's the case for Sotiropoulos, if he is past his due date, he is going to have his hands very full next Friday.
Well, let's talk about the level of competition here for a second. I mean, George Gurgel, a great tactician on the ground, amazing jiu-jitsu guy once he gets to the ground, but does not have the smartest game plan ever when he comes in to fight somebody. His game plan against you is his game plan he's had against everybody else. He just wants to stand there and try to throw punches at you and try to bang. You're a far superior striker. It was not even close in the tactics of how the striking game went, and it deservedly so. He beat the crap out of the first round. It takes you about 4 minutes. And that's because the first 2 minutes, you weren't sure what he was actually going to do. You thought he was going to be a changed person. So the first 2 minutes, you kind of feeling him out, and you finally realize he's doing the same thing. Let me finish this fight, and you finish him.
Right.
This now going with George, a much tougher competitor. Understands his game, understands his value, understands where he should be. He's going to get this thing to the ground. Do you feel like that, if you're comparing the two, George was step one, Gurgel was step one, and then Sotiropoulos is step two in coming up to a higher level of competition? Do you feel like George is a tougher competition than Gurgel was?
I think overall he's the better fighter. But I finished Gurgel on the ground my last fight. I didn't finish him standing. So third degree black belt or whatever you want to say. I chose to change my game all around. I chose to impose my will on my opponent, and I did that with him. I took him down. I didn't care about his black belt. I didn't care about his wild punching. I didn't care about any of that stuff. I went in there and I did what I had to do. Same goes for Sotiropoulos. I don't care about his ground game. I don't care about his amateur boxing background. I don't care about any of this. I'm going to impose myself, and that's all. If he's past his due date or not, it doesn't matter. I'm still going to impose myself the same way. If I have to beat this guy up for 3 full rounds, if we have to go to war for 3 rounds, I've prepared to do that. So for me, there's no more question of what do I have to do? What should I have done? No, there's nothing. I know what's done. I'm going in there to fight. Now it's all up to him. If he wants to go in there and scrap for 15 minutes, we could do that. If he wants to lay down and die, he could do that too. For me, I do not care. I'm just going there to destroy this guy, and that's it.
You have I've interviewed a lot of guys from Montreal and from Canada, and I make fun of the French Canadians quite a bit, just because I'm from upstate New York and I'm allowed to do that. You have a drive and a passion that doesn't seem to really mix with the rest of the guys that we interview. Everybody up there from Montreal is very polite, and they're almost Japanese in their style of interview. The best shape I've ever been in. This will be a great fight. It's my toughest opponent. It's the same kind of static line, but you have like a fire and a passion in you that's a little bit outside the realm for that area. And I'm being stereotypical because I'm trying to put you into a box of Quebec. I'm trying to put you in that little space.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that sometimes that you are out of that realm, that you're kind of out of that package a little bit? Because you seem to fight a little bit differently. You seem to have a little bit different mental attitude. You seem to have a little bit different kind of fire. Not saying it's better or worse or more or less than anybody else's. I'm just saying it's different. Do you feel different sometimes when you go into practice?
Well, I do now. And, Frank, like you fought before. You've had a career in mixed martial arts, a successful career. You've seen a lot of stuff. You have a lot of experience. So, as a fighter growing up, depending on where you're training and who you're around, you could be influenced to start, having a different mentality, a different level of focus, a different type of training. So I've went through so many different paths, and I followed in so many people's footsteps, and this is the way to do this, and this is the way to do that. And the worst for me with that was when I was in the UFC. When I was in the UFC, I had a million people around me. I was trying to follow a million different routines. I was not myself at all, right? I lost my way. Now, like I told myself, if I'm going to continue to fight, I'm only going to fight for myself in the way that I want to fight. I don't care if I win or if I lose. I want to be able to look in the mirror and know I fought the way I wanted to fight. And that's why what happened in my last fight was no fluke. I came out, and even if he survived the fight, even if he beat me, I was still going to attack him that way for 15 minutes. So now, like, to say I'm different and whatnot, yes, I feel like I'm coming into my own and I'm doing things my way. And when this is all said and done, from this point on till I finish, I'm going to do things my way, say things that I want to say, focus the way I want to focus. If I want to train, I train. If I want to fight, I fight. If I don't, I don't. So I'm being true to myself, and I feel like I'm maturing, and it's making the difference, in my career.
It's been a little bit of a weird transition. You're still up at TriStar, correct, for your full training camp? With the retirement, the stepping back, the whatever GSP decided to do,
right?
It kind of changed the dynamic of TriStar, where a lot of you younger kids turned into men the month after he retired because you now had to start finding your own way. Like you just said, you have to start finding your own path. And it's actually been better to see a lot of the guys come out of there now because you've changed your attitudes. You haven't changed your fighting style. You haven't changed like your drive to fight, but you changed kind of how you approach the world.
Right.
Has it been easier for you now to wake up every morning with that smile on your face and go, look, I got to go to practice now and go try not to get punched in the head while punching a guy in the head? Has it made your days easier because now you're not trying to follow anybody else and now you get to be true to yourself?
I think being around such a mega star, day in and day out, it's hard not to, try to mimic that, to try to, recreate that in some way, shape, or form. It's hard. You see a guy with so much success and you want to be that successful, But at the same time, every fighter has to come into their own. Every fighter needs to know why they're fighting and how they should be fighting. Their body is different. Everyone needs to know this stuff, internally and externally, why they're fighting and how they should be fighting. With George not in the gym as much, like the training, these big training camps that he has with all these, glorified fight stars coming in to train with him and stuff. I mean, it's easier for guys to focus on their fights for sure. But also at the other end of it, we have, occasionally we don't have as many guys to spar with. When George is fighting, we have a million guys to train with, So it goes hand in hand. But for me, whether George was gonna stay or not, I needed to start doing things differently because my fight career, I was not taking it very seriously. I wasn't as focused as I should have been. Like I was in the UFC, and you think, oh, you're in the UFC, it's time to start working. I did the Ultimate Fighter. I did my 3 fights outside the Ultimate Fighter, and I was really just like, I was in cruise control, man. I was having fun. I was finally making money. I was getting attention. It was like, and I felt like I deserved it. I was like, yo, I deserve this. I've been busting my ass. This is what I should get. And I had this sense of entitlement, which was the worst thing that could have happened to me. It was the poison that killed everything, you know? And so I made a vow to myself, you know, to straighten everything out and to get back there and be where I should be. If you look at my last loss in the UFC, whether you say it's a lackluster performance or not, it was still a split decision loss. It was a very close fight. And the guy I lost to is ranked number 8 in the world right now. Miles Dre's ranked 8th. So I lost a split decision to the number 8 guy in the world. I know where I belong. You know, this isn't a question of talent. It's a question of maturity and focus. You know, and I've proven, like, I'm doing 2 main events in a row now. You know, I'm holding down the whole card. You know, there's more pressure. There's more publicity. I'm fighting, you know, veterans. You know, I'm showing everybody now, you know, that I'm not playing games and where I should be. And this performance is going to be the performance. My last one was great, but this is going to be the one that puts a nail in the coffin. Mike did 2 in a row. Mike's coming back for more than just Sotiropoulos, more than just a Titan fight. He's coming for his job back. And this is what I'm out to prove. And I'm going to prove it tomorrow, whether it kills me or not. If I have to die trying to prove that, I'm going to prove that next Friday.
You've got in your contract, if the UFC comes calling, you can get out of your Titan Fighting Championships contract?
Yeah, we have a clause that we can get out if we get, you know, signed with UFC. Like Ben Saunders just went from Titan to
yeah, he signed back in, and you think this fight, a devastating knockout beatdown of Sotiropoulos, is going to put you back in, or you think it'll be one more fight after that before they come calling again?
I think it's performance based. I think if I come out and I put this guy away, you know, come Monday and I get you know, online and I start, you know, talking to the media and letting everyone know where I stand and what I want, I think that I'll get it. You know, I think I deserve to be there. I think I'm the best lightweight in this whole country, you know, and I'm going to get what's mine. It's time now for me to I thought I got what I deserved the first time I was in the UFC, but that wasn't enough. I deserve more than that. The amount of work I put in, the level of talent I have, I know what I deserve. It's just I can't feel like I deserve it. I have to go and get it every single day. This is what I learned, you know, from this setback.
Mike, I appreciate you coming on here with MMAOddsBreaker. It's been an absolute pleasure to interview you. I can't wait to watch this fight against George.
It was an honor being interviewed by you, man. I've been a fan of yours since the beginning.
It really does, and this is going to sound a little off topic, but it really does warm my heart to have guys that are like you, that kind of go through that transition, that growing phase. Not everyone's going to be undefeated all the time. Not everyone's going to have that all-star, 5-year run of never being beat. It's always going to be those ups and down guys, and watching guys like you come off a loss and coming back and going, look, I was there, but I was on cruise control. That's admitting your own issue, and then going, look, I'm going to come back and be better. And to have such a nice guy do it, there's a lot of bad guys in MMA right now. There's a lot of heels, a lot of dickheads, and to have a guy like you understand the game and want to come back and be even better, it makes me want to watch the sport even more. I'm already watching so many fights, and I'm thirsting for fights like you and George. So I like both you guys. I like both of you guys, how you act outside the cage, outside the ring. I can't wait to see you guys do battle. It's going to be a great fight. Ladies and gentlemen at home, you've got to watch this fight come up here on Tiny Fighting Championships 29. It's going to be an amazing fight on August 22nd. Mike, thanks again. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. Take care. Peace.